All right, guys. I'm actually really excited about this episode for two reasons. One, on an organizational perspective, we're getting more and more into the commercial space, and I think if people are looking around Moncton right now, there's a lot of these high-rise buildings popping up. New hotels, the industrial parks are growing, all that stuff there. But also on another end is, we've just gone through COVID, and I think we've heard these crazy stories, and we just talked about it right before, is like people making offers on houses they've never even seen and they've never even been in the provinces. But we've started to rely more and more on technology, which is really cool. So it's speeded up the process of becoming reliant on these things that may have been more in the beta stages at first, but have now grown into some of what we're going to get into that have grown in popularity. But also it's not only just maybe a tool, but it's also a necessity in order to maybe not get into legal troubles, or just to make sure that your listing is bang on in the square footage and all of that stuff there. But one thing that always kind of interests me is, for me, I always try to do a little bit of research when we start off to find out who are our guests and stuff like that. And you can start off on LinkedIn or things like that, but I try to kind of break down those layers and get a little bit deeper, and it got me thinking a little bit about when I was younger, and trying to figure out how can I explain the type of person that I was, and why I am here today. And if I can kind of paint that picture, there is that I was kind of like that kid that would always get in trouble, and I grew up as an only child, so you're kind of center of attention in the family and all that. But I was probably really naive when I was younger, but I was always really curious. So I'd always when someone said something, I'd always ask is that the right thing, or how does it work, or things like that. And what it's grown into is, sitting here and doing those same things, but obviously in a more mature way, maybe, where the perspective that I try to take is ask maybe the questions that other people are wondering, right? And as much as I can be interested in these subjects, I think a lot of people are just interested in the subjects we're going to talk about today. But all that to say, I want to know what kind of kids you guys were when you grew up. And to see if that's who you were when you were younger, is that the person that you are today, or is it still there, right?
We're going deep out the gate.
I know, just off the cuff, I know. Yeah. Well, for me, it was I'm adopted. There was two of us.
Okay.
And my mother always said I was like the wild one.
Okay.
But looking back in hindsight, I wasn't the wild one. Just my brother was too quiet. So that's what I see. And now that I have kids and grandkids, now I see a broader picture. It's like, okay, yeah, I was really not that wild one.
Your definition of wild has changed?
Yes.
Fair to say?
Very.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was the blast through the door.
Okay.
Look back, did that go okay?
Yeah.
Did we put it together quite
the
right?
Pioneer.
Yeah, jazz? Maybe. But no, I did a blast through the door, did that work, okay, on to the next thing.
Yeah, yeah.
One of two, myself and my sister, and, the typical, I guess, nuclear family, as it were. But yeah, no, that's absolutely who I was. What's that?
Rich man's family.
There you go.
Boy and girl.
Okay. I'd never heard that before.
You never did?
I've never heard that.
Yeah, that's what it's called, rich man's family.
I'll take it.
Really?
I will let my father know.
Yeah. Phone call right after this.
Absolutely.
Hey, Dad, by the way.
Yeah. Did you know? No. So just kind of a typical upbringing around here. But so I was kind of blast through the door, see if it worked. If it did, rinse and repeat.
There you go.
And go from there.
And obviously by that you gain, I find those unknown doors that you step into, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but you gain that experience and confidence to do even more things later on, right? And you gain perspective, right?
Absolutely. So, you learn to fail.
Yeah.
And you just, okay, that didn't work. Let's just go this way this time, but do it again.
Yeah.
Right? And just keep going.
Yeah.
And
just like GPS says, recalibrate. It's the same as me. It's always been, I had a few businesses before.
Yeah.
Didn't go the way I wanted to. Yeah. Just pivot, recalibrate, and just keep on moving.
Nice.
Because if you don't take a risk, you're not going to, if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you don't take a risk, you're not going to go anywhere.
And I think in everything in life, right? I think that a lot of times we set this doubt inside of our mind of all the things that might not work out, and it stops us from even just taking that step forward and trying something, and what if it does really work out?
That's right.
So
but it's the noise. You have to filter out the noise.
Yeah.
Because if you have an idea, if you want to move forward with it, you keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
That's right.
If you put it out there too much, people the back dog and the kitchen dog, and they're basically going to try to bring you down because they're jealousy because they didn't think of it.
That's right.
So it's just keep forward and keep it to yourself and keep your successes within. So.
That's true.
Yeah, you build it yourself the way you want to do it.
Exactly.
It's one of the things I've always loved about the brokerage business.
Okay.
Especially on the commercial side, whether it's sales or leasing.
Yeah.
There's no banker's boxes I need to check off to get a deal done.
Yeah.
It's okay. What do you need? What do you need?
Yeah.
You guys, give me a day to see if I can craft a deal here.
Right.
That'll work for everybody.
Yeah.
And as long as we can get sign-offs across the board,
Yeah.
everybody's happy and things work. So, it's a good industry that way to, try, you fail, that didn't work, okay. Or, I had the success with this client over here, this similar situation is happening. Can we rebuild kind of with those ideals in mind?
Yeah.
Of how to kind of craft this deal for somebody.
Nice. Now, listen, we've in a few of the past episodes, I think we've had some really good insight from the residential side of things, and Home Hardware is obviously known more for helping the everyday homeowner out. But today is really more of an episode that I think is more in tune with the commercial side and what is really the forefront of this whole conversation in my end is like what constitutes even like, and it might sound like a stupid question, but it's like, what constitutes even like a commercial property, and where do we start from there, right? So
yeah, it's an important question.
Yeah.
Because we get it all the time. Like when we talk, people say, the commercial market is doing this.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little more kind of broken up than that. For the sake of conversation, I typically break it up in 4 components.
Okay.
You've got the multifamily component, the retail component, the industrial component, and the office component.
Okay.
So they all handle very differently. They've all got multiple pieces to them, whether you're talking on the buy-sell side, the invest, the owner-occupy, the tenancy side, the landlord side, and all pieces of those individual markets get attacked very differently.
Okay.
So, overall, that's kind of, if you're thinking about what is commercial, that would be the best way to think about it.
Yeah.
They're all financed differently. They're all viewed differently by the banks. They're all viewed differently under risk profiles, and they change all the time.
Right.
So you kind of had to have that conversation in those silos to be effective.
Now, for a first-time investor when it comes to commercial property, what's kind of the easy way in, I guess, or is there even an easy way in?
It always comes down to one thing: it's people around you.
Okay.
Find a good partner.
Yeah.
Whether that's a financial component or a mentorship component, somebody who understands building systems, somebody who really understands what you're going at, and learn your own market and understand what's happening in each of those. The easiest way to get in is, know somebody.
Right.
End of the day, the deals tend to be a little bit more expensive. You're not going to come in and do a $500,000 deal. You're not going to find something like that.
Yeah.
And the loan to value proportions tend to be very different as well. So if you're sitting there thinking today, I want to get involved in it. Right now, today, I'm a fan of industrial and I'm a fan of multifamily from an investment standpoint.
Yeah.
Retail through the pandemic stayed really steady. Retail here hardly flinched.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. I don't think we lost a business on Main Street to COVID.
No.
We lost some to other reasons, but and industrial has absolutely boomed.
Yeah.
So it's a higher risk profile as well if you're looking to invest in the commercial side.
Yeah.
So make sure you understand your risk profile, make sure you understand what you're getting into, but and then continue to work on opportunities and find them. It's go talk to your local brokers, and you know what, probably not supposed to say this, but go talk to everybody.
Right.
Go talk to all the brokers. Go talk to some landlords. You're in a community here where people generally want to share information. People generally here want to help each other. Mm-hmm. So, there's probably a landlord who will take your call or an investor who will take your call. If you're looking at it and saying, I maybe don't want to be in the building management business.
Okay.
It's probably not the right investment for you. Then go grab a REIT stock and be invested while somebody else manages it. Okay. They're very management intensive.
Now, what's a REIT stock?
Yeah, so a REIT is a real estate investment trust.
Okay.
They're publicly traded groups that buy and sell properties across the country or the continent, depending on their parameters. Okay. We've got some great ones here. An example would be, ProREIT. They're a major industrial landlord here in the city. Yep. Killam is a REIT when it comes to the multifamily side. Northview, absolutely. Okay. So, a lot of these guys and gals, you can just go buy their stock. Okay. And you're invested in commercial real estate under, their preferred return metrics.
Does it give you kind of a say in what's going to
Not a
happen?
bit.
No, okay.
Not
No,
going to happen.
no.
You know, and if listen, if you want to go buy 50% of slate and get a board seat, you know, those are numbers that I'm not able
Step
to.
one, have a lot of money.
Yeah, it can be a lot of cases, but you know, there's a lot of good value add opportunities out there. You know, there is a hard done by small strip mall somewhere that somebody can go put some serious work into, some sweat equity to improve the tenants, understand how leasing works, understand how proper management should function and be billed. You know, there's a lot of efficiencies that can be gained. Like if you talk about investing in, say, a duplex or a fourplex, you know, you're typically looking at that at a value add and saying, all right, I'm going to paint it up. You know, I'm going to do the roof. I'm going to change some walls. I'm going to redo the parking lot. But if you're looking at the commercial side, you're having that conversation and you're talking about how do I improve these leases? How do I improve their structuring? Are they gross? Do they need to be flipped to net? Are there costs associated with that? You know, and that's what a lot of times where, you know, Dan and his team can come in and help you make sure you're dealing with the right components and the sizes are correct and things are where they said they were, you know, that sort of thing. But that'd be, you know, the starting point.
And how does and that's where your software comes into mind, especially with space like that. Tell me a little bit about like how there's an advantage to gaining, you know, working with that technology to assess on a commercial property.
Well, for what we use is we generate as-built floor plans, AutoCAD files for either designing or engineering, and then let's say that Adam brings us in to do one of the properties. Well, when he gets a result, he knows exactly what the square footage is. So if it's something being leased out, usually commercial properties are being leased by square feet. So he has something tangible. We've been called into dispute resolutions also in the past that they said, well, this building I want to lease, they're saying it's 25,000 square feet. I'm looking at it, I'm not too sure. So we would go in, do an independent review of the building. We generate a floor plan and we tell them this is your inside outside square feet. So it eliminates the doubting, it eliminates, is it really this? And also what we do with Adam and the team is we generate anything media content. We do photography, the mapping, the floor plans, the drone, everything that they need. So we basically go in and generate all that stuff.
The virtual walkthroughs are huge. Like they're absolutely huge, especially when it comes to the leasing side. You know, there's the conversation of making sure you got your square footage right and making sure everything's right. But then you get into the corporate leasing side of it or the institutional leasing side of it, and the decision makers are, you know, 8 people, 4 in this country, 4 spread across Europe or the States, and this is the only tool that can get their eyes on what it really is.
And then the technology also it allows you can do basically VR. So we just have. I should have brought it in, but you can basically put it on and sitting right there and just walk through the whole building. So and for Adam, if he has like some investors out of province, he can just basically one click invite him for a virtual showing on our system, and he can walk him through and explain because he was there, and then explain what it is and what they're looking at, toggle up, zoom in, zoom out, do the whole thing, so it's something tangible, and then even if they buy or whatever lease it. They can even use that for insurance purposes, so pre-loss insurance. So down the road, if something happens, they know what they had.
So there's obviously like, and I'm thinking from an outside perspective, there's obviously the landlord that owns the building itself, and then he's leasing it out to tenants, and that would be considered like a commercial investor. And then, so like, does it start off like that person like would buy the land and build the building and then just lease it out? Like how do you differentiate some of the opportunities that there are?
Totally. If you're starting out, you're more likely going to go buy something that's existing. You know, build-to-suit projects are very complicated. Very complicated, very capital intensive. You know, you guys know the construction side of that, and it's not a small project.
No.
You know, and it's tough to get a tenant who is of credit quality that the bank will approve the entire new build, sign a lease term that everybody can get on board with, and is willing to wait the 18 months from lease execution to actual project completion. Here's your keys. So that can be a tough mix. So, you know, if you're looking to start it off today, there's probably an asset sitting in the city wherever you are that is available, can be found, can be made available. It's go network. You know, it's go network, it's go talk to people, find the opportunities. But, you know, if I'm starting today and I've got a budget, I can go buy $1 million worth of property. I'd be going existing and looking for an asset that you understand as well. You'll see a lot in the sophisticated institutionals. They'll stick to an asset class. Your industrial landlords will look you in the eye and say, I don't understand retail. I'm not buying it. I know it's a great deal, but it's not for us. So, pick a lane, get really good at that lane, and then think about growing out.
Can you, how difficult is it to change the zoning of a property that you would buy and then want to flip it into, let's say, I'm thinking, especially with COVID, is there's probably a lot, maybe in the bigger cities, but these office buildings that now, everybody's working from home. Now we have this big office building that's empty. Can we turn it into residential? How difficult can that be, or are there steps around that?
That's a really difficult project. So on the zoning side, it depends. There's a lot of variety there. There's some projects we've seen that need to be rezoned that everybody kind of looks at and goes, that just makes a ton of sense.
Right.
And then you get ones where you kind of go, you're stretching there a bit. We could be looking at this for a very long time, and that gets very political. And what can you do, and how do you work through City Hall and make sure that those things work. When you get to the conversation about converting vacant office towers into multi-res, they're really complicated. There's two things to think about. So number one is, when we look at a market like Moncton, you've got a vacancy rate of 26% in office space. But that doesn't mean that 1 in 4 buildings is 100% empty.
Right.
It means a floor or two of most buildings is probably empty. And when you start skinning that down even further, you break it down into Class A, B, and C. Class A is only 6% vacant. Office space has done okay under certain lenses. And really what's happened is the people who have taken care of their product, offer good product, are well managed, they've absorbed the tenants from the B and C buildings, and the people who have neglected their assets are struggling, and which a fairly typical thing.
Right.
Converting them is very complicated. You've got a building where somebody said, I need a little bit of plumbing running up the middle to put one sink and a couple toilets on each floor.
Yeah.
And you look at what's needed for window space. Somebody built one that said, I need windows this big all the way around. They don't need to open. They don't need to do any of that. You go to multi-res and you go, well, that's all new windows. So what can you really save here is a shell. So you need a completely vacant office tower. And it needs to be in a reasonable zone. And I think what's stopping it from happening here, at least in New Brunswick, because we are going to see those projects. We are starting to see those projects in major centers. Chicago's going to do it. New York's going to do it. Toronto's going to do it. But what we're seeing here is land is still so cheap.
Right.
So, when you're looking at that and saying, I can build for X amount per door, or I can convert this at X times, 0.25, 1.25.
Right.
Why would I do that?
Right.
Because I've still, at the end of the day, got an older product that has been, Jimmy rigged is not the right word, but I'm trying to figure out what the other word is.
Modified?
That's the one. Thank you. So they're really complicated projects. So I think if you saw the city really push to densify, but we still live in a world where Shediac's 25 minutes away. Salisbury's 25 minutes away. People don't mind the commute. The city is built around cars, whether we like it or don't. Traffic's not bad. So, why would you do that when you could go build 24 units in anywhere in a 30-kilometer radius of the city, probably get the same rental.
Right.
So we would need land costs to disappear. You look like Montreal, the island. The land they have is the land they have, and it's all been built. So you start playing that game a little bit more.
So that raises a good question in my mind in terms of how your technology would step in is, now that we know that there's a lot of land available, does your technology come in and help map out some of the stuff that doesn't exist? Let's say, does it help create these floor plans or anything that
For what we use, we need existing buildings. We need something for the LiDAR, the laser bounce off. But no, it's not. That would be more, and also on that aspect of land, if it's service land. So I mean, where I'm from in Grand Lake, Shediac Ridge area, there's no water system. We're all in wells and septic, so you can't build the multi-res. You can't. You need certain things.
Still not there, right?
The infrastructure is not there in the outlying areas. It is in Greater Moncton, Shediac, but then also Shediac is limited. So it will come, but there's still a lot of space left where it's already the infrastructure exists.
That's a really good point. I mean, and you think about it, those infrastructure systems were not designed with this amount of growth in mind.
No.
Right.
Like
No.
systems are starting to get tapped.
I know.
We're seeing that shit. They're going to be closing the main street again for
Right.
another
That's crazy,
little
yeah.
stretch.
Yeah.
Because the water main and septic is not
Yeah.
built for that. Shediac has grown exponentially.
Yeah.
And I've been around there for many years, and
Yeah.
it's just not the same, but it's growing.
Right.
And the multi-res, everything's everywhere. So, but for us, for our technology, for the mapping, we need something.
You need walls and
We need
stuff,
walls
right?
to bounce off.
Yeah.
And even our drone, the capability of our drone is not. Some have capability for mapping the Earth because they have LiDAR, but we're not in that.
But
in
if
that
you
realm.
looked at the properties in Moncton that are the vacant office towers that could be converted, they're not young buildings,
No,
and they probably don't have the CAD file anymore.
no,
So
they don't.
you can
No.
generate those,
Yeah.
and that would be a really needed first step to
Yeah.
get the services figured out.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of those. We're working with the province, with the Department of Transport Infrastructure for their buildings.
Okay.
We're mapping their buildings because they're old.
Right.
Yeah.
But even some buildings that are 20 years old, they've been modified. So the previous file they had is not
Ancient,
working.
right?
Ancient. And or the company who built it didn't want to give the blueprints or the CAD
Okay.
files. So then we have to go in and we redraw the whole
It's a
thing.
good problem for you, right? It's not
It's
your
awesome
problem.
for us.
Yeah.
It's like, we do that.
Yeah.
Wink, nudge, nudge. But yeah, so like Adam was saying, for our business too, for networking, just getting the word out what we do, and
Yeah.
the light bulbs have come on. Like when we're in light bulb areas, they're all on. So
That's right.
when we're talking to people, what we do is something nobody did before.
Right.
So we've developed basically a service that was needed,
Right.
and like they would do it by hand before.
Okay.
The CAD files we were talking about, a house would take them 4 hours, 2,000 square feet. Me, it takes me 20 minutes.
Oh,
So
geez.
you're paying that person $150 an hour and us a lot less.
Yeah,
So we're generating more volume.
So in what circumstance, and I'm sure there's a lot of them, but what are the most common situations that you've seen your business grow exponentially in terms of people wanting to use that service? Is it more on the commercial side? Because I know you do like a variety of stuff. Where do you see, like, is it a lot of these, like, okay, the building's 20 years old and there's no plans and that's the problem I solve? Or are you seeing like a lot of different scenarios?
We're heavy into residential.
Okay.
And doing, like, I would say 80% residential, 20% commercial.
Yeah.
But commercial, I mean, we're also doing marketing. We're doing 3D tours we did the Bricks Experience here. We did the Bauer Hotels, all that for their website. So there's different aspects of
Right.
for tourism. We do existing retail, anything restaurant or anything touristy.
Okay.
They can walk
Walk
right
through
in
the
virtually,
restaurant.
and we're also Google Street View integrated. So if you're in Google Street
Nice.
View, let's say we did this location,
Yeah.
people could just walk in virtually they don't have to
Right from
what's
Google
their
Street-
website and all that. So just from Google Street View.
Okay.
So we're seeing a lot of that. We did the bunker.
Yeah.
On Main Street.
Oh,
the
nice.
golf
Yeah.
place,
I was just there last weekend.
You were? It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we did. They called us for marketing purposes. So there's that aspect of that's growing also. The word's getting out on that side of things, but also on the residential side, we're seeing a lot of uptake too because of the measurements. So
Right.
we're generating accurate measurements.
Right.
So there's reduced liability for the listing agent, and when people are looking online people look online.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they do. They look online for a house. More data online, the better it is for you to get that call because millennials, I'm a Gen X, so I can say millennials, you guys. So
Shade
Us
start
guys.
right away. Yeah,
you guys,
What do you mean, you
can-
guys?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm surrounded, okay?
Yes, you are.
You guys
You think about your words.
I know.
Be careful.
You guys consume media differently.
Absolutely.
A lot
true.
more
Yeah.
differently. So we had to adjust.
Yep.
So the market adjusted on that aspect. So millennials now, they want floor plans
Yep.
because they want to see the flow.
Yep.
You're buying a house, you're investing. Now houses when I started, it used to be 150.
Yeah.
Now they're 350. That
Yep.
same house.
Yep.
So you're investing 350. You want to know what you're getting.
Yep.
So when you get all the measurements and all that, and for that listing agent who hired us, they have peace of mind. Okay,
Yeah.
all measurements there, floor plans, so it's tangible, measure points, and all that.
Right.
So it's a liability thing also because if you misrepresent, if you say, I'm just gonna measure with my little tape measure or whatever,
Yeah.
and they say it's 3,000 square feet, and then we go in. The buyer hires us sometimes for, and then we say, well, no, it's only 2,400 square feet. Well, you know what? You're missing a lot. So there's a liability aspect. So for the listing agent, it covers them, but also represents their client well.
Right.
And on the commercial side of things, we're seeing a lot more, like I said, the floor plans, the blueprints. It used to be blueprints, now they're CAD, they're called CAD files. So we generate that. So we're seeing a lot uptake on that because, like Adam was saying, some buildings, Moncton, they're old.
Right.
I've been into many, many buildings. I've seen too much stuff. It's dilapidated and old and crooked and all that. So when we go in, at least they get something tangible.
And the use is critical. I mean, thinking specifically about industrial. You know, there are people in a lot of these sophisticated tenant groups who do nothing but plan out racking. All day, every day. What is the appropriate rack plan? How should the forklifts flow? How do I make this work? If you're working with bad information and you go sign a multi-million-dollar 10-year deal, it's not a very good start.
No. And you can't plan properly, like your logistics behind that. Right?
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. I had this question in mind, and I'm happy we kind of segue into this. What do you think about the old Moncton High School? Like, what should we be doing with that? Like, what is it zoned as? Like, how does
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I didn't do that homework before I came here.
Neither did I. It wasn't on the list.
No.
Personally, I think the city benefits from having a school in the downtown core. With kids that can spend money on lunch. There's lots of restaurants around the area who have benefited deeply. I think that would be a great use. And we're clearly in need of schools.
True.
They're clearly not that cheap to build.
No.
I think that would be a great use of it. I think if you look at the times of when they transacted and when things changed there, the office market was very different. Those pre-COVID times. People were a lot more optimistic on call centers, on office space, on all of those. That world got rocked.
Right.
But I think having a downtown school would be huge.
But on that aspect too, I mean, building a school is a 5-6 year project.
Right.
So the ones that are building now were planned 5 years ago, and they did not plan on that immigration influx.
That's right.
So it's like we did the Mascaret. We mapped that out, the Mascaret on McLaughlin, for their marketing aspect, and so we mapped that out. And I know the principal, and he told me, he said, we can't get portables here because there's no room, but they wanted us to put portables in. So if we put portables in, the playground will be gone. So the school's not. It's just they open the ribbon cutting. And see the portables coming almost. Like it's
too small.
Because they couldn't predict.
Right.
They couldn't predict what we were getting into with the immigration. I mean, we get a flood. What did they say in the symposium last year? Real estate symposium, Moncton only 8,000 new.
Right.
8,000 new. Moncton, not Greater Moncton. Moncton, in 1 year. So how do you?
And we're still the fastest growing city in the country.
That's insane. I know one thing too with that school, I think there's obviously the asbestos issue, which probably happens in a lot of these old schools. It probably makes it like one of those liabilities where you're like, is it even worth, is the juice worth the squeeze, right? But I like just use it for...
Just make a school. We need schools. We need people that still spending money. I got to make sure the health components all work. Somebody make sure the HVAC's good and the asbestos isn't hitting anybody.
That's true.
But, we need bodies.
Now, one thing that I'm wondering is, and I think I saw it on a TikTok, and it was kind of talking about I'm following these kind of real estate stuff and home improvement, and it was someone questioning the retail spaces that are in malls and how do they operate and is it a good investment? And I'm wondering like these days, especially because you're thinking with the Amazons and the online orders and just e-commerce taking over the world, is that a viable solution? And who is even renting these places and are they even making money?
So I mean, I'm pretty confident in saying Cadillac Fairview's full. I don't think there's any vacancy down there at all.
Good.
You've got brands coming here. I think LL Bean might have been the most recent big name open down there. They're doing fine. Retail is doing fine. I'm sure a retailer could sit here and tell you our in-store retail volume has dropped.
Right.
But I'd also bet that there's a story there that says we have a lot of buyers who come in and touch and feel the shirt that they want to buy.
They buy it online.
And they buy it online. So
my wife does that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a showroom.
Right.
You guys are in the showroom business.
Yeah, that's true.
Now the shirt retailers and shoe retailers are also in the showroom business.
Right.
So I think they seem to be doing fine. Main Street seems to be doing well. retail didn't really flinch in COVID.
Okay.
E-commerce is obviously here to stay.
Yeah.
It's a great thing.
Yeah.
And there's probably room for it to continue to grow in Moncton. Like we don't have same day delivery here yet.
Right.
So there's probably room for more, and it's probably more warehousing, but I think the malls are doing fine.
Yeah.
And you got to think, often places, especially when you get into a smaller mall that maybe an investor of, who's just starting off would want to look at, they're not just filled with retailers.
Right.
It's not just shoe stores and shirt stores and skateboard shops.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's massage therapy.
Right.
It's estheticians. It's professional services. The insurance groups still like having a Mountain Road presence.
Right.
There's walk-in traffic for professional services, engineers, accountants, and a lot of those people are going to continue to occupy space. Like you don't get a lot of the curb appeal on the office.
Right.
So if you're in any type of hybrid business there, you may select them all.
Okay.
And for the most bit, they seem to be doing well. Like I'm trying to think of, in Moncton at least, I think most of them are pretty well full. I think Northwest is full. I think Cadillac's full. A lot of the little ones, even up and down like Pacific Avenue, those are full.
Yeah.
St. John's a different beast.
Okay.
Fredericton's a different beast.
Yeah.
When you start looking at vacancy numbers across the province, you really should be breaking them out by city. Moncton's on a run.
Okay.
And it's, worlds ahead from an occupancy standpoint. Like if you look at office occupancy in St. John, you're probably looking at 28-ish%. Moncton is, they're a little bit higher, right? St. John's higher. Fredericton's an interesting market from the office standpoint because government doesn't move around that much.
Right.
University doesn't move around that much.
Right.
And the retailers know their seasons.
Okay.
When the university students are in, the snooty fox does all right.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
So those things will continue to happen. But I think retail's still a good, strong investment.
Okay.
I would say I think one investment ideal that switched for me from 21 to now is I'm more excited about what you would consider a B class tenant.
Okay. Which is
so like a Fortune 500 is an A.
Okay.
Right. Like if you can go get Pepsi or Coke or Walmart as a tenant.
Yeah.
That's considered an A class, right?
Okay.
An international client. So a B class is maybe, or even a C class is, Dan and Adam decide to get into the esthetician business.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do the hair extensions, I'll do the nails.
Sure.
Nice.
Done.
Beard trim. Beard trim. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I like those businesses more now.
Okay.
Because compared to, say, your Fortune 500s.
Right.
Because I can go see how their business is doing. I can talk to the operator.
Right.
I can see what's going on in the
Locally
market.
owned.
Locally owned. I think there's more strength there than there was before. When you get into managing properties that have a huge amount of national occupancy, you never really know what's going on behind the curtain.
Right.
And if you look at major distribution chains across the country or major office occupancies across the country, there's a lot of times that Atlantic would be the chopping block.
Okay.
If you said, listen, we've got 50 offices across the country, I'm not shuttering Toronto.
Right.
I'm not shuttering Calgary, Vancouver, Halifax, Moncton, one of you might be.
Okay.
So I'm a bigger fan now, and I think there's more credibility in what you would consider a B tenant than there ever was.
Do you find there's been, and I'm just thinking more of the work from home situation and even how some people are now, like, we've seen a lot of the people from the Ontario market moving here just because it's cheaper, is like, would they maybe start switching their method of cutting because of that? Because people might be moving here, maybe we can pay them less, or maybe there's cheaper labor here.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, and I can certainly think of on the micro scale why a business would do that.
Yeah.
Tough to draw a macro trend there.
Right.
I can certainly see that happening.
Yeah.
I think, however, most of the ones that have kind of come east in that wave, it's going to be a work from home.
Okay.
Somebody who just bid on 5 days a week and hopes that the company continues that policy for the next however long till they retire or leave. That's been the big gamble most people have made.
Okay.
I left Yonge Street because the company said in 2022 I was allowed to work from home, and then 2024 and 5 rolled around. They said we're bringing everybody back to the office. And you're sitting here going, I need a new job.
But we're seeing it. I'm seeing a lot in residential.
Okay.
People from out of province who have bought 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm going there doing their house.
Right.
Okay.
Because they're selling. It's really on a weekly basis, pretty much.
Do you think what would be the purpose for them selling mostly? Or is it?
Well, there's many aspects. Some they can't get a family doctor. Just one of the things.
True.
The older ones that had retired, and moved here. Family, they had moved because it was nice and sexy during COVID.
Yeah.
Atlantic Canada lifestyle, which we do have a great lifestyle, but some cannot adjust.
Right.
If they're from big cities, some may not adjust.
Sure.
Some, I had one the other day, 30 acres, beautiful property, pond. I would have bought it. And he was like in love with that place, and she said it was too quiet.
Wow.
Wooded area, 30 acres, 1.2 million. It was beautiful.
Like, sign me up.
I mean, I did a video there. I was just,
What's the point?
That was like beautiful. And she would say it's too quiet. I'm like, well, okay. But I'm seeing that because we asked a question. We were chatting away. And, and where are you guys moving to? When we set up our equipment. Oh, we're going back home. Oh, where are you from? Oh, Ontario. Like a lot.
Yeah.
I was very surprised. Some had downsized a little bit. They bought. They're staying in the area. Yeah. But it was such like a fire sale. Like they bought this 4,000 square foot house.
Yeah.
They're a couple.
Right? Yeah.
And I was like, it's too big.
Yeah.
Right.
So you didn't have a floor plan, eh? No.
That's the catch.
There it is.
So they were downsizing into something more smaller. But I'm very surprised the amount of out of province that are reselling.
Well, it's funny, and it's like that. You can equate it to a lot of different circumstances, but it's like the grass isn't always greener. It's like where you water it, right? And I find like a lot of times it's like they thought, oh, I'm gonna get that quick buck off of my house, and then I'm gonna move in somewhere where it's cheaper and it's quieter and all that. And they get here and like, oh, the crickets, and I have to drive 10 minutes to go get my grocery, and then there's nothing there other than just the grocery store. And then I go.
It's not around the block. Like if you're living in Montreal or Toronto. Like you got your community within 2 blocks. Yeah. The full everything. Yeah. Here it's within 20 minutes. So if you're out in the country, it's nice, but then you have to drive to the store. You just can't walk. So
it's funny too because it's like it really is perspective from the point of view of the person, because like I've always like, let's say I'll go to Montreal and we'll go there for a weekend and stuff like that. Like by the end of the weekend, I'm like, I want to go back to like peace and quiet. It's like no sound,
see the ocean,
right?
See the ocean.
Just like chill. But on the other end, it's like people are like, they come here and it's like, oh, the noise is like, there's no noise. Like something needs to be vibrant. Right?
When the white noise machine you put on at home is traffic and sirens, your time for a change.
Yeah, that's it. Now coming back to the commercial aspect, and especially with like a spot like Moncton, and we were talking about the malls and stuff like that. Like, how important is location? Like, especially in an area like this, is it important?
Yes.
Okay.
So you somebody sneaks around and slaps you in the back of the head if you don't say location is super important in real estate. Like there's this mystery guy who walks around, right? Yes, in short.
Okay.
But good location means different things to different tenants.
Okay. Right.
What is a good location? What does that mean?
Right.
Maybe you want high traffic, high visibility, but maybe you're afraid of access. Okay. We've worked with groups who say, I love Mountain Road, I love the visibility, but I know my customers and they are not great at dealing with this traffic. So why don't we talk about St. George? Why don't we talk about Elmwood? Why don't we talk about some of these other options? Right. You start talking about industrial, like if you're a manufacturer, it's where's the power, where's the ceiling space, where's the yard, and if I can be out of the city, maybe that's great. If you're in the distribution business, it's how close can I get to a highway interchange to minimize mileage. Okay. So the definition of location changes a lot as you start kind of panning it out. Okay. And you start really digging down into the HR side on office. It's where are the amenities? Can my staff, my team go grab a coffee?
Well, public transport too.
Absolutely.
Because we saw a high, like Kodiak Transpo 5 years ago was like
nobody was on.
Now it's full.
Yeah, it's true.
They're full. So
that's true.
For office space or anywhere they want to work, if a big company comes in, they have to, does the bus run here?
Yeah, and that's one of our biggest weaknesses here. Yeah. Our public transit is weak.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And it should, like, at a certain point, it's like we have to just make that investment of like, okay, like, I think there's like a push and shove mechanic that comes from like the public sector. They have to be like, okay, well, I understand you're not a private business and your perspective is probably not to make money, but you have to make an investment so that people can rely on it. 100%. And I think sometimes what you see that a lot of the public sectors, their mentality isn't really that, but we need it because not like, especially the cost of living now, it's like not everybody can afford a car and like people need to go to work. And then you've got like, you've got more immigration, and the immigration, their culture is different. They maybe rely on different systems. Like driving a car is maybe not something, like some of them might not even have licenses, or they might not value a car, right? So it's important.
But even today, I was in Dieppe, I believe on Fox Creek, and there was this lady, when she was at a bus stop.
Yeah.
That was not. It was a pole,
Yeah.
a sign, no cover, nothing. It's like the infrastructure's not even there yet.
No.
So I mean, what is? They have to move on. It's a bus. Give them shelter or whatnot. Because, like I said, I'm seeing a lot of buses going full.
Yeah.
Full all the time, but they have no infrastructure even for people to wait for the bus.
Yep.
Outside of the downtown area.
Yep.
Now, what are you seeing right now, or how does it look for the next like 5 to 10 years in terms of what's being built mostly in the commercial? Or like we're seeing, obviously in the downtown, we're seeing more high rise, we're seeing less Spitfire buildings. Nothing against Spitfire, they make great buildings. But you're seeing, like, I remember that a lot of the earlier multi-purpose or multifamily were like couple of floors concrete and then stick frame kind of thing.
I think that, I shouldn't be quoted on this, but I think that had to do with code,
right?
More than anything.
Yeah,
I don't think that was driven by want or market desire. I think that was.
But now it's shifted, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot more. You're seeing concrete all the way, right?
Yeah. And maybe it wasn't code, maybe it was zoning. It had to do with how high you could and couldn't go in certain zonings. The push for density is here. I mean, look, you got that 30 stories approved on Main Street there. Yeah. So clearly we're going up. Yeah. And I think we'll continue to go that way. It's certainly the most effective way to go. So when you couldn't build, how did that work? I think there was something to do with 4 stories. After you went 4 stories, you couldn't go full stick anymore, or something like that. And I think that's what drove a lot of the older decision making was I can get land for cheap. It's easier to go wide than it is to go high or do multi buildings. It's probably what people wanted at the time. It's what people were used to at the time. These new buildings like, Three Sisters downtown, they're gorgeous. They're not a standard we've ever seen here before.
That's true.
Right? So the buyer has changed a bit of what they want and what can be provided. So I think that's going to continue to be great.
What are you seeing on your end? Like, it's being in the houses that you're going in and stuff like that. Are you seeing any trends that are popping up that we might see that are that continue to evolve as we go for the housing or anything like that that we should think about?
Well, what I'm seeing a lot, like, and today was like a twilight zone, and driving up the street was all the same. Yeah, it's all the same, like row houses, 4. It's to create capacity for residents. I know, but it's in 50 years. What are those going to be?
Right.
That's what I'm looking at. Right. Like I know they brought an urban planner in Shediac, and they said in certain areas they're doing those, the row houses. So, well, those in 50 years, it's going to be a lower income earners are going to stay there. So you got to outweigh what is going where. And what type of zoning going to give, multi or single or whatnot. So it's different areas of the town. Some areas are saturated with semis and multis. It's saturated, I find. There's no more charm. But some areas are keeping certain charm. I know it deals with zoning too. Yeah. So you got your single dwelling or your multi. So.
And I think if you peel back the history a bit, you'll see that a lot of these buildings were designed and built to be sold to kill them. Yeah. Guys, they made their business doing that, and it was great. And Northview, same, like there were REITs that wanted to absorb. They knew that, if you knew as a contractor, I'm going to go build this, pick a number of units, apartment building. 95% chance they're going to buy it. I might have the deal cooked beforehand. So you're probably at that point building in a ultra efficient way. Right? Whereas today you look and some of the people downtown are planning to hold. They're planning to be here for long term. They're planning to be part of the community. They want to have nice product because they want to have pride in ownership and make sure they have the best tenants. Then you look at some of the mixes, like I think you have the conversation about, effectively, should we continue to go up or should we spread? What are we building? I think is what we're talking about. If you look downtown, my answer is different than it is out, off Fox Creek. You look downtown and you're forcing these ground floor commercial units, and you're going to have this insanely vibrant city. Right. You're going to eventually fill those up with restaurants and, professional service uses and those sorts of things. And they're going to be awesome amenities for the people living in them. The pride of ownership will be through the roof. And then when you start getting kind of out of that need for ground floor commercial, you're playing a bit more of an economics game, a bit more of an efficiency game. There's still pride of ownership. You still want to do a good job, but you're talking about, how do I maximize my return? Right.
So how many people today are using your technology right now, like, is it like everybody now?
If they're smart.
Yeah. Well, that's what because we were talking a little bit about it before, and I'm like, you'd be stupid not to do this. Like,
Well, just for example, last year we did 800 properties.
okay.
So that's residential, commercial,
Yeah.
heavy on residential. It's something that, well, for me, of course, I went to business, so it's like, it's foolproof. You like I'm saying, you need it. People, like I said, they consume media differently.
Right.
So you give them everything they need, from videos to great pictures, but the floor plan and the measurements. So then you can take that floor plan. Let's say you buy a house, take that floor plan, come see you guys at Home Hardware.
Yeah.
Here, there's no waste. I want this room,
Right.
and it tells you how many square feet that room is.
Okay.
So I want flooring for this room.
Okay.
Or
right.
even
True.
the
Yeah.
3D, you can go to your design center,
Yeah.
and they can have the full 3D, and they want to remodel, they want to repaint, they have it all there. You can put it into floor planner, so it brings you a full basically mock-up. You can change the colors of the walls and all that. So the technology is there for people that it's an app based. You can play with that. Like I said, the floor planner stuff.
Okay.
So you can choose. They got a catalog. They got some of the furniture that we're sitting on is on the catalog.
Right.
So they can
right.
they can play with furniture, or will it fit?
Yeah.
That too. Some
Okay.
people, they bought sight unseen, and they get there. They didn't have the floor plan. They get there. My king size bed doesn't fit.
Right.
My TV doesn't fit on that wall.
Yeah.
With our technology, our software, they can measure a wall
Okay.
from Ontario or from Japan.
Right.
Doesn't matter. So it's public based. So it's cloud based. So they don't need special software to run it. Just
Right.
email it to them and they have it. So it helps them in decision making process for
Right.
one, renovating process.
Right.
And a lot of them are renovating, like unless
Yeah.
it's a brand new build.
Yeah.
You want, but if it's a 30-year-old bungalow that was built by people back in the day and they
Yeah.
need some modification,
Yeah.
well, they have the plan, so they don't have to just go with a little sticky note. Come see you guys at the contractors.
Yeah.
Just say,
We get
I
those.
think it's just hang on.
Yeah.
Who wrote this? So
Right.
they can just print that off and bring the floor plan as built. Say this is what I need for this area. So for planning purposes, for residential, it's great, and for selling, it's great too because
Right.
you got something tangible. So the reliability is reduced to nil because that's how you got the measurements.
Okay.
You're going to look at online in some retail residential, and it'll put measurements not available
Right.
because they don't have to. The board doesn't. They have put square footage
Right.
total,
Right.
but room per room, no. It's
And that's important information, right?
Absolutely.
it is.
Yeah.
It's your largest. It's not like I said. Bungalows are no longer 158,000.
That's right.
5 years ago, before COVID, it was Stats
Yeah.
Canada. Moncton 158.
Okay.
Right.
That same bungalow, I've been in that bungalow.
Yeah.
I'm redoing it now.
Yeah.
358.
Yeah.
So you're investing a couple hundred more.
Yeah.
So
Well, if you look at like the other thing I think we've talked about that you guys can do as well is, if you can get a scan pre-drywall.
Right. Okay.
How many carpenters and electricians do you know have gone through the plumber's water line,
Right.
hanging up something?
Okay.
He makes that problem go away.
Okay.
yeah, so we run a visual.
Okay.
Anything we do is called basically a progress report.
Okay.
So let's say this building here be to the studs.
Yeah.
And you can be hanging the ceiling or putting it out. So we go in to just do a visual with our machine.
Yeah.
So then we can put in, okay, we can tag that's a downspout, this and that. So down the road,
Right.
when they need to do something, well, something's leaking there and it's all drywalled up. Well, just pull up the 360 and say, oh, that certain pipe is running there.
Okay.
So you don't have to guess and start cutting away. And so basically for planning purposes on the commercial side,
Right.
you can run, like we've been doing it a fair bit, is the walls are not up. We just run the machine through.
Okay.
You don't get a full floor plan because they don't need it,
Right.
but they need a visual.
Right.
So to have that file,
Yeah.
if down the road something happens, and then when it's done, we go back. Here's a full floor plan, and some people say, "Well, I have the engineer's floor plan." Yeah, but I like the Three Sisters. My brother-in-law works there, and he told me, "Yeah,
Okay.
they had to move this stairs here, and they had to move this there because it's like they had to move it."
Yep.
Yeah.
But that's not in the plans.
You can only round up from 5'10" to 6 so many times.
Exactly.
Right. Right.
So there's little things like that. So when we generate those floor plans, there's as built today.
Okay.
So we run in. This is what is existing today. If they modify in 5 years, we go back, we do the other scan.
And you can do it again.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter like whether it's like if you could do this existing building and do the same thing that you just said,
Yeah.
right? Because we do have a leak in the back that we could maybe talk
Hey,
about.
pause,
later.
we gotta go.
Yeah.
I see it. Let's go.
Yeah. Now, I guess my question is like, what's the turnaround on like you from start to finish on a typical project? Like,
On a house?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we did one in Bucktush this morning, and we already have it.
okay,
So we-
same
well,
day
we-
kind of thing, right?
Same day.
Yeah.
I always say 24 hours.
Okay. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes we're done running 5-6 houses in a day.
Yeah.
So, and Thursday we're in St. John for these guys. So
Okay.
we're
Okay.
traveling everywhere, so we have to give buffer.
Yep.
But usually next morning, our clients have it in their inbox,
Okay.
from pictures to video to floor plans to everything, so they can market property. Because what we're hearing a lot when we're doing residential, the homeowner's there. So when's it gonna be live?
Right.
And when's the sign going up? Like,
Okay.
we hear that all the time, and then our clients that know us, I should get that tomorrow morning, and I'm around the corner and like, yeah, you'll get it tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm up at 5 a.m. to get it to you
Right.
for 8, but yeah, you'll get it.
Maybe look at me before you make the commitment.
Yeah. So like, but no, it's a efficient turnaround because people are excited.
Right.
They're selling their house. Or they got an offer another house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they like need to get this house, and I've had those calls many times.
Okay.
Dan, when can you come? Like,
Right.
I have an app you can book on our app, but sometimes I can squeeze people between.
Right.
And then when can you come? Say I can be there whatever time, and they don't have it the next day. It's on market, and because they have a pending offer, and so they need to sell there. So we try to accommodate as much as we can our clients. So.
Okay. And like, I mean, does the cost differ between properties, or how does
Square
that?
footage base. If we're doing,
Okay.
like, say, the full package of drone pictures, floor plans, measurements,
Yeah.
3D tour, the regular bungalow up to 2,000 square feet, it's only 374.
Okay.
So it's not, you're not breaking the bank.
Right,
So it's
true, yeah.
basically for the listing agent, it's security that the measurements are correct.
Okay.
One, and then also you get it the next morning, so I don't have to wait. I've heard some people wait 4 or 5 days to get their product back.
Okay.
But us, we know like I said, we work in teams. There's me and my son. We're a family-run business.
Yep.
So me and my son are out there, and we're rolling. So we
Right.
know it's important for our clients to get it out on the market as soon as possible. So, and then like I said, price point is reasonable for what we offer.
Yeah.
So we've been around for many years now. So.
I'm just punching the numbers in my head right now. 800. Like, how many houses can you do in a day? That's
Looks like about 3.
Yeah.
If he takes Christmas off.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know. Last year was a crazy
Yeah,
year. Like, it
yeah.
was crazy. That's why I had to bring on my son full time.
Okay.
My wife works full time with me.
Okay.
So I started the lone wolf, and then just go like, okay, what's going on? What am I doing?
Right.
Like it was Saturdays, it was evenings. This time of year, I said, well, it's sunny till 9. Like I was out there till 9. I was
Okay.
like, okay, I gotta structure more. Like I gotta have a little bit of a life.
Yeah.
And so structure more of the 8 to 5, but also we're doing 5 to 6 properties sometimes during that. Like this week, we're pushing 6 properties on Thursday, 6 on Friday.
Wow.
And so it is challenging. So
Now that brings me to kind of an interesting topic, and a couple of people that were on one of our last episodes where we were talking about like things that can contribute to their success in terms of like, especially in their career and stuff like that. And we're talking about like a busy schedule and all of that. What have you found personally that has been something that has allowed you that you're like, if I could give this advice to someone, like the previous time it was like, time blocking.
Yep.
Like, you need to put stuff in your schedule and be like, if I'm committing to doing this, it could even be your kid's birthday party. Like, put it in your schedule because then it's a non-negotiable. Do you think of anything now that like, and take your time to think about it, but like that has contributed to your success in the positions that you are right now?
Yeah.
well, it means technology. Like
Yeah.
so we're the only business like in my realm that we have an app, so
Yeah.
you can book online, so you can see our schedule.
Okay.
So I block times
Right,
out.
right.
And I've had I used to work on Saturdays. I stopped that this year.
Yeah.
Due to my director of operations, my wife.
Yeah.
Which she made sense. I mean, for me, I'm very I'm task oriented,
Okay.
result oriented.
Yeah.
So I'm very forward thinking. I'm always thinking of where we're going. We're doing this, doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And sometimes I lose track of like, oh, okay, like I'm a human being.
Yeah,
I'm not just a
yeah.
business owner. So
Yeah.
it's to bring myself, which she balances me out a lot.
Right.
Bring myself back to okay, so we're working these days,
Yeah.
these hours, and that's it. Like I started that just this year, and I had one client. Well, maybe list one house. I'd maybe do one house for her a year.
Okay.
And she said, I need you to do a shoot on Saturday.
Yeah.
I said, no.
Right.
Well, I need on Saturday. I said, well, I don't work Saturday. I'm sorry. Well, I'm going to have to find somebody else. Okay.
It's okay.
It's like,
Yeah.
and for me,
Yeah.
that was hard.
And
That's hard for me
yeah.
to, because I've always been, yes, sure,
Yeah.
we'll be there. Yeah, we'll be there. But now it's like, calm down.
Right.
Calm down. It's like, just get your days in during the week, and that's it. If I get one of my top clients would say, Dan, I'm in a bind. I need you on Saturday morning. Well, yeah, I'll do it for my clients that are using us every week.
Yeah.
But if you're once a year and it's like, you want me to, no.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I find like for us,
Yeah.
for myself personally, so I would say to somebody who wanted to get into this business,
Yeah.
Step one's a good mentor.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I got into this business with a huge amount of privilege.
Okay.
Exceedingly great mentorship that really kind of changed the game for me.
Okay.
We typically budget a 3 to 5 year learning curve for
Okay.
a new person.
Okay.
So mentorship's a key one. For me, when it comes to kind of managing, the mental health side, the your self side,
Yeah.
I get distracted really
Really
easy.
gets in, man.
I am, and it's a really good
I
business
know.
for that because we've got 100 different deals on the go, and they're all up there. But the problem is, they're all percolating at the same time.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm the same boat.
I am a Pomodoro believer,
Okay.
top to bottom.
Okay.
Monday, like the day starts, the timers are on.
Okay.
And I try to function inside those timers as best I can for when
And that's
it
the
comes.
concept of like
It's
time
25
blocking,
minutes
right?
on.
Okay.
Well, it's not so much time blocking. I do some. I'm not
Okay.
that great at
Okay.
the time blocking component. But it's, you set the timer, it runs 25 minutes, then you take a 5-minute, just
Okay.
step out.
Yeah.
25-5,
Never heard of
25-5.
that.
Oh no, it's a Pomodoro.
I'm a
It's
Gen Xer.
Yeah.
come on, man.
You're just work.
Yeah.
That's a Gen X. It's like we're the forgotten generation. We like it.
I love it. No, I'm a big fan of that timer-based system.
what
Just keeps me on track.
So you do.
I do it. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
why you're late.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm never late. I'm always 5 minutes early because of the 5-minute block in there.
That's it. Yeah.
Stop
25 minutes driving,
I
5
wasn't sure
minutes
what
break.
side the door was on.
Well, he was like circling the parking lot. Yeah. Going back and forth, looking at him.
They're not going to like me if I go through the compound. But yeah, so that's a big one for me. It's mentorship to learn the business and to get the hang of it. Learn the failure side of it from a day-to-day focus and being successful the day-to-day. It's that one. It's the time management.
And I love what you said too, is it's especially like, I think it's common of your generation is partly, I think it's you're very dedicated to your craft and attached to being successful because you please others. And I think it's a people-pleasing tendency. Can be good and bad, I think, but it's also important, and you've realized it is like creating boundaries and then working within those boundaries and not stepping away from them, because I think a lot of times like we kind of give an inch and people take a mile, and then that's where you turn into burnout, right? And that can quickly go from like enjoying going to do 6 listings and then the next day absolutely hating even just doing one. And that's the last thing that you want, especially when you're running a business and you've got people that depend on you. Like they expect Dan to come in and be lively and happy, and hopefully that's what you are normally.
Oh, it is. I know. He's met my son too.
Yeah.
He's met my son is he's like me a little bit. Yeah.
You guys are always happy anytime I see
I know,
this.
and we are, because
Good.
I mean, today we're driving from Bucktush, just laughing our heads off from Bucktush going all day for stupid reasons. But it's a good rapport. I mean, he's 28 and I'm 54, so I mean, there's a little gap, but it's just, we know, like we get there and like Adam was saying, it's not a task for us to be happy and like we any house we do, we're there. And last week I had to haul my son up. Like
Yeah.
he was chatting away with this gentleman, this gentleman from Denmark. He had
Yeah.
this beautiful property in Chemagui and talking about a certain pond. And I'm like, task orientated.
Yeah.
We had another shoot.
Yeah.
We're in Chemagui. Had to be Moncton and calculating. Okay, for
Yeah.
Max,
Let's go.
Max. And then his wife was looking at me and said, Max, come on. It's like, but he's a chatterbox. He's a full-on chatterbox, but which is great. It's something that we're lucky because I can take vacation now. I couldn't take vacation before.
Ooh.
We took our first vacation in the spring.
Yeah.
Left him alone at
Yeah.
the helm. I was managing
Yeah.
from Mexico.
Yeah.
Freaking out from Mexico.
Yeah. Calling
No.
every 5 minutes there.
No,
Hey,
but
did you check this? Did you
well,
get this?
the thing is I see stuff. I see. And we can manage it with technology.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, wait, he did it. Okay, good. Okay, so close the line.
Yeah.
Next
we,
week.
well, that's it. We had a boundary set up. Say, okay, we're on vacation. 4
Yeah.
days. Not mine wasn't big,
Yeah.
but do stuff at 8 to 9.
Yeah.
and then close wrap.
Yeah.
And then that was it.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, well, let's go to Europe in September and see how 2 weeks ago it worked.
Yeah.
So that's what we weren't able to take vacation.
Your business is such a fast deal cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Right.
you start a project and finish it in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's got to be a different type of environment. Like for us, I can have a deal cycle that runs 2 years.
Yeah.
18
True,
months,
right.
multiple years, whether that's a vacant property that was a hard time to sell or, quite frankly, lease deals. I've had deals that were just to do leasing and they
Right.
run 18 plus months.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you're rapid fire inside on the items to build. But the long piece of it is certainly there, which
Right.
takes some of that, I don't say it takes some of that pressure off, but everybody knows what the true path really looks like, right? Yeah.
No, this is-
And your relationships are probably built more on a long-standing process of maybe one deal versus yours. It's like your relationships are built and then they also evolve with the reoccurring, right?
Yeah.
Because your reoccurring's, I would say, probably less.
It's a little less yes and no.
Okay.
So there's a fair amount of recurring business. It's different clients who have different issues, have
Right.
different needs. Like, this landlord might have a vacancy over here. We help them fill that. This tenant may have it here. But, call a lease 5 years.
Right.
So every 5 years, every year, 20% of the business you've done in the past rolls over.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's certainly a lot of repeat there, but it's long-standing relationship business. And it's trust, and it's the same as your business. If I couldn't trust those numbers, we wouldn't keep calling you.
No.
Right?
That's true.
So it's a trust component, making sure you know what you're talking about, and it takes a long time to build it.
I'll ask you this question here. Do you find, because we were talking a little bit about, we mentioned the design center, and the design center is our first kind of service-based business. And I find service-based businesses are a little bit different. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is, do you operate in a mindset of sometimes you're allowed to pick and choose your clients? Like not everybody is your client. Like, is there like a relationship that you have to build because on another end, you have to trust them as well. Because I find
100%.
on the product business is like transactional is like, hey, you're coming in, aisle 5, come and help you. Do you have anything else you need for your project? Like that's very one-dimensional. I find in that sense.
We need to be, picky's not the right word,
Yeah.
but qualifying.
Right.
You need to qualify
Okay.
people. We're in a business where I don't get to send an invoice for time,
Right.
right? So if it closes, great. If it doesn't, carry on. So you need to be wise about who you're working with and make sure that there's a certain level there that everything's going to work.
Right.
And it kind of ties in one of the other things we were talking about earlier, just about advice and how to manage things is like knowing what your high payoff activities are.
Right.
I think that's a metric most people should focus on to some degree, and then saying how do we build a team around getting the rest of the things done and
Right.
going from there. But yeah, absolutely. We need to have some faith in each other. I typically like to sit down with you first and
Right.
get to know what kind of human you are.
Yeah.
I'm not super concerned about how wealthy you are.
Right,
Or how,
right, right.
those
Yeah.
but like, do you seem legit? Are
Yeah.
you going to be a good person to work with?
Yeah.
Does what you're doing make sense to me?
Mm-hmm.
And go from there. It's pretty rare we've really screened somebody out for the most
Right.
bit. But yeah, we certainly pick and choose.
Yeah. Do you see the kind of
for us, it's like I said, very transactional, very rapid fire.
okay?
What has helped us a lot is we've adopted our online. The system we use for our booking
Yeah.
is pay to download. Also.
Okay.
So for us, when my wife came on with me, I remember just for COVID, when COVID hit,
Yeah.
she worked in optical for 20 years, and then she came with me, And she looked at my AR, accounts receivable, and she was like,
I'm too busy doing more.
so we adopted a system that is built for what I do.
Okay.
So anything that I push out, you get it, but
Yeah.
it's all watermark sample.
Okay.
So you have to pay to download.
Okay.
So we filtered out some
right.
that we would had to chase.
Created some safeguards. Right?
We had to chase
Yeah.
around, get paid, or get to chase and chase. So now it's all pay to download.
Yeah.
So it's like because we're getting calls like it's crazy from Ontario, people who own Airbnbs in the area or rental properties. They want us to do some rights. Have called us to do some of their buildings
Okay.
because you Google, we come up.
Yeah.
So we're very high ranking in Google and huge following on social media.
Yeah.
So we're there, but it's kind of scary because you're not dealing with Adam.
Right.
I'm dealing
Right.
with somebody on the phone with a Calgary number.
Okay.
So, but now it's like, yeah, we'll do it, and then we ship it out, and then they say it's pay to download because they get the like, yeah. If you want to see your product, you pay for it.
Mhm.
So that was an adjustment, but the AR is like zero-ish these days,
Right, right,
which
right.
is great because my wife does the accounting, the direct
Yeah.
operations, and then I get like, did you release that? No.
Yeah.
Right. And, most people want to pay. Most people hired you to do a thing they expect to pay.
It's a
but
service.
if I could download it, I'm just going to forget.
And that's what happened a lot. That's not you guys, but some others I know.
Those
'cause
millennials.
Yeah.
millennials. See, he was on his 5 minute. Like,
There you
oh, my
go,
time
there
was
you
off.
go.
Sorry,
I
Dan.
can't help you.
I was gonna put in credit card number. Sorry, Dan.
Done. I got
Yeah.
all but one number in.
I got caught with this other thing.
I know.
Yeah,
He's like,
exactly.
sidetrack. Millennials. Man.
What are we doing?
I'm wondering just
Not sure.
because that came up. Because there's people that kind of like invest in building these Airbnbs, and I'm not sure if now it's even like legal to do that. I know there's all these legal loopholes, but do Airbnb investors fall into like commercial in a certain way? Like how does like
That's a really gray
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
I'm
Maybe
not
not something you
sure
wanna-
what the
yeah.
rules are around here now. I think PEI got really strict about it.
yeah
I don't know what the New Brunswick rules are. If you're doing 1 and 2, I'd say no. If you're owning 20, 50, 60, 80 of them, I'll call you commercial.
yeah?
It depends what's going on
Do you
there.
think it's a good or a bad thing for housing?
For the housing market in
Yeah.
general, I think if you want to call it a bad thing,
Yeah.
I think everything you give to the housing market, you'll take from the tourism industry.
Right. True.
Right? It might not be a dollar for dollar trade, but I think it's a trade.
Okay.
And it depends to me what kind of stock is being absorbed in there. I think it takes a lot to kind of really drive down into that and understand what the
Right.
right answer is.
Right.
I don't think there should be REITs that control a bunch of single family housing.
Right,
I don't think that's
right.
good for it.
Yeah.
But if you're taking what might otherwise be problemed assets, you're motivating somebody to spend money to fix them up, to build tourism dollars, to increase the property tax value
True.
of it. They're business investments.
Yeah.
I see space for it.
Yeah.
There's got to be limits.
Yeah.
It not being able to buy a house here is a problem.
Yeah.
People should have access to housing, and but this swings back and forth. In 10 years we'll be talking about the exact opposite problem. 10 years ago, nobody wanted to build low-income housing because they didn't want it in the city. It's just going to go back and forth.
Right.
We'll be having the opposite of this in 10 years.
Yeah, for sure. No.
So same time in 10 years.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Book
Are
it.
you? We're still going to be alive because we're millennials. I had to do one of them.
Should I smack you?
You might. I regret
I
the
know.
offer.
Now, I always finish with one question. I'm going to do two just because I felt like it I'll finish with the second one at the end. But the one that we always ask, and it's one that we think is an important one because we never know who's watching this. It could be someone that's at their crossroad. It could be someone that's in high school. It could be someone that's midlife crisis, quarter crisis, whatever it is. It's if there's one piece of advice that you can give, and we say to your younger self, but it's like if you were to start over again at one of your crossroads or at your younger self, what advice would you give?
For me, if I could give a young person advice at all, period today, get out of bed and leave your house every day.
Yeah.
Period, full stop. Life and opportunity happens out your front door,
Yeah.
and you need to go.
Are you a Gen Xer in disguise? How old are you?
I'm not allowed to talk about that right now. There's a whole treaty. But yeah, no, you got to leave the house. You got to get out of the house.
It's true.
No, it's true. It's true, and I mean, it's take the risk. Ask for mentorship. Like I mentored a few.
I think that's a good
a few younger people, but I'm biased because I enjoy entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, man, go for it. Like I'm like pushing. But it's something you have to basically have a passion for. I grew up. My dad was a business owner. My mom also. So I was immersed in that. And it's so funny because fairly successful business, and my parents recently said, basically, so where did you get the idea? Where did you? I said, it's me.
Yeah.
Right.
Like they thought I maybe had bought a franchise or a license or whatever.
Right.
And I was like, no, it's me. Like I just started.
Saw an opportunity.
Saw an opportunity and just basically flourished from there, and then just follow your instinct.
Yeah.
Follow your gut. I mean, that's something, and let the white noise go, because you will have doubters.
Yeah.
You will have naysayers.
Yeah.
If you block those people out and go forward, and it may not be your first business or your second, but it's basically you're going to fall into something. If you're a real entrepreneur, you want to find your passion, you will find it. Just don't say I'm going to find it tomorrow.
Yeah.
You have to go and basically cultivate it and move forward.
Yeah.
So that's what I find. So
Fair enough. I differ slightly.
of course.
Just slightly. I don't think people should chase their passions.
No way.
I don't think you should chase your passion. I think you should chase your talent.
Okay.
I think you figure out what you're reasonably good at, something you enjoy doing. You're going to enjoy being good at your talent. Right, but you should professionally chase your talent. You and I are both good at people. That's really what we're good at. You know, that's a talent.
Yeah.
You know, you're not passionate about measuring a space. You're passionate about the people and the client and how to help them.
It's true. Because,
Right? So but if you follow your talent, and if you do that well, that talent will fund your passion.
Well, it's true what you're saying, Adam. It is people wise.
Right.
It is, you're in the business of dealing with people.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that personality, like I said, it's going to be harder.
Yeah.
You can maybe make a good run at it, but it's going to be harder.
Yeah.
Because we're in meetings sometimes at the association we're with, and then I read the room.
Yeah.
And you see the ones that are a bit more timid. Yes, your first ones are terrifying. Just
like
terrifying.
everything else. Yeah.
But then you get used to it, and then you get a comfort level, and then your guards are down. So basically, you're interacting more. So but like I said, passion. It is a passion, though.
Yeah, I know.
The talent is a passion.
I buy that. I'll buy that.
You know, I would put both of your ideas together and make them into one, which I really like the get out of bed and get out of the door in the morning, and then also trust your gut.
Yeah.
And I think those intertwined together that's what will allow you to probably find your passion or to find your talent and to work on that. And I think those two together, I think your gut is a very, that feeling that you get sometimes that propels you into a direction is in itself a power that you need to hold and to really focus on, because I think for everybody it's different, but what we all have in common is that we do have that instinct, right? And it's important when you are triggered by something, it's like follow that cue, right?
Yep.
But it happens when you get up in the morning and you go outside, and you can't, to both of you guys' point is the people aspect of it, right? We can't, in life, we are always going to have to form relationships, and you have to get out and form those relationships, get better at it. Maybe the first time that you go to a meeting and speak in front of people or speak up when someone has a question or a differing opinion, it's not always easy, and you might choke up a little bit, but you get better at every opportunity there. So no, I love that, guys. Yeah. My second question is Stanley Cup final predictions. Are you guys hockey fans?
Nope.
Haven't seen a game all year. Don't
No.
follow.
Well,
No.
if you were to guess.
I don't know. Who's in?
I don't know. I don't have time for that.
So what's your, outside of here, I guess, what's your, the hobby, the when I'm not working kind of thing?
I like being outdoors quite a bit.
Cool.
Spend time outside, the wife and the dog, and, do a little hiking. Heavily involved with the Progress Club here, so, that's something I enjoy doing and spending my time in as well.
Nice. Yeah.
No, for me, it's been I'm an outdoorsy type too.
Cool.
Now convertible's out, so
Motorcycles in?
no. That's I like 4 wheels better than 2.
I can buy that. But yeah, I'm there.
So,
Yeah.
but no, it's we like to travel. Like for us, it's like I said, kids are gone and grown, and grandkids come by sometimes. But it's a travel. It's now that I can travel.
Yeah,
I'm back.
You can trust the sun.
We had nobody before. We had nobody, so it's hard to even. I couldn't take a week off. I couldn't because then the expectations, and I know it's some people do, but I didn't want to lose that client. Yeah. That was my Gen X thing. So I had
That's what
people
you're starting
pleaser.
out.
Like John said, people pleaser. So
So how can people find you? Like if they for on your aspect, and then if anyone's looking into getting into the commercial world.
Well, for me, I mean, we're on every social.
Yeah.
From TikTok to Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. So for us, measure my space or seen the little smiley house. That's photography. For big stuff.
Yeah, that's
official
right.
pictures and staging.
Yeah.
And my wife does virtual staging. So
Perfect.
plug for her.
Nice.
Great job.
Yeah.
But it's anywhere, Google.
Okay.
Like I said, we're ranked pretty high on that.
Cool.
But also we got like 6,000 followers and reached 50,000 a month reach organic on our socials. So
that's awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, we're find us on LinkedIn or grab my cell phone number off the website and give me a call.
Perfect. We'll put everything in our description below on YouTube and Spotify there. But gentlemen, thanks a lot for coming in. Incredibly informative experience, and unfortunately we didn't predict the Stanley Cup final winners, but I think we got way more out of it, right?
It's hockey something.
It wasn't in the list.
It wasn't.
I know.
I'll know for the episode in 10 years.
Okay, perfect. We'll be ready.
Exactly.
We'll be
There
ready.
you go.
Right
Thank
on.
you very much.
Perfect.